Good evening and welcome to Face for the Newsfirst team. I'm Niresh Eliathambi. Well, politicians, especially in Sri Lanka, they love the voters as long as there's an election coming. But now all three of our elections are done and dusted. So what influence does the voter have over those who have been elected, and whether they are in power or in the opposition in parliament or in the local councils? How do the voters show the politicians what they desire? Well, this is a key question, and it's a question of participatory democracy, which is something that we certainly sorely need in this country. And to discuss this evening, we have with us Mr. Kesarralal Gunasekara, former Member of Parliament. Welcome, Kesarralal. And we have Mr. Nadeesha De Silva, who is a well-known political analyst. Good evening and welcome, Nadeesha.
Good evening, Nadesh.
Right. So, gentlemen, we've been preoccupied with elections for the past, my goodness, over a year, I think. First the presidential, and then the general election, and then the local government. And there's no real talk of the fourth election, which is the provincial council, but let's let that be. If it happens, it happens. If not, well, we may have to bring some pressure to bear to get that done. But right now, with these three elections done and dusted, there is the ever-present danger that those who were elected will lose touch with the public, will lose sight of the reality in Sri Lankan society. This has happened for decades, and it's up to us to make sure that this doesn't happen this time. Otherwise, this government also will face a lot of difficulties in carrying out its work. Now, Kesarralal, how do we ensure this? What methods do we have? Now, in Sri Lanka and around the world, it's social media which is now in vogue. Everybody has something to say about everything, but it's a lot of noise, isn't it? So you have people who are for a decision and people who are critical of a decision, and it's not really easy for policymakers to figure out whether they are on the right track. Apart from social media, how does a voter engage with politicians?
Well, you know your local member, because there are technically it is not there specifically mentioned in the Act, but there are two types of members. Of course, people might blame me for saying this. One is an elected member. He comes straight from the ward. He's elected. The other person is a nominated local government member.
But both types are supposed to represent the people.
The people. Both types are supposed to represent.
Your point is that the person from the ward is...
Yes, he's a neighbor. He's basically a neighbor. He's directly appointed by the people. Now, you must always be in touch with your local authority member. And the process is very simple, because you have the technology available, the phones, the handphone, everything's available now. And through that, keep reminding him of his duties as far as the locality is concerned. That's one way of pressurizing him, because the pressure is always important, and he takes up that pressure at the council. Take up issues at the council.
So what you're saying is, don't just because someone is elected, don't lose touch with him. He's still your neighbor.
Exactly.
Call him up.
Whether he's X party or Y party is irrelevant to you.
I mean,
he is elected. He has to work for all of you all.
Right.
Everybody.
And he should not be placed on some exalted,
Yeah,
not on the Murungat, as we say in Sinhala. You know, he should be treated as one of the neighborhood.
Correct.
And he should get a earful from everyone about what needs to be done for the neighborhood.
Yes. That's how the process works. Of course, in the past, it is the local authority member who went after issues, sometimes in his cycle, sometimes walk, etc., and hunt for issues, etc., visit houses, and then find out for themselves as to what the problems are. But today it's totally different. The scenario has changed. You get the problem straight to your house. Sometimes they drop letters to your letterbox or through the WhatsApp messages. So you are much more advised with regard to the issues in your locality.
Now, Nadeesha, would you agree with what Kesarralal is saying, that the public needs to basically give the politicians a earful, be in their face, be in touch? Will it work in Sri Lanka?
Practically, I don't think that it will work. Very clear answer. Okay. In local government, it will be, I mean, it will run for some extent. It will work for some extent. As he mentioned, that is how it should have work. That is how it should have been.
Work.
That is how it should work. But it will not happen.
Why?
Okay. The earlier in the like before, in your introduction, you said Sri Lankan politicians, they love the citizens, right?
As long as there's an election.
As long as there is an election. Actually, it's not. Even if there is an election or not, the politicians, they don't love the citizens. They just show that they love the citizens.
They pretend, yes.
They just pretend. But actually, citizens of Sri Lanka, I think this I have mentioned few times in your programs only, citizens of Sri Lanka, they have that tendency, like they have that thing, they love their politician. That's how mentality is working. They always need to see a hero. A politician has to be someone who can, see, in participatory democracy, in representation democracy, we know that the member who got elected is the one who is representing us. So as he correctly said, that person belongs to the society. In local government, he belongs to the same neighborhood, so he should represent the issues. He should represent, that he is representing us means he is representing the issues of the neighborhood, issues of the area. When we just, if we just marginalize and talk about the local government members. But even though you have seen all these years how people are treating those ones who are elected, that has to be changed. That's why I'm always telling, this is a problem. The problem is with the attitudes of the citizens, not with the members who get elected.
So, are you saying that the citizens have been attaching too much importance to the elected politicians, and that is a root cause of this, and that attitude has to change?
It's not that the attachment or something, it is just that they are seeing the member who elected, not only in local government. Now think about the people who've been elected to the parliament.
Parliament, yes.
See, they are representing us, but the citizens, they always seek something from them which you can't get done. Like, we are seeing these people who get elected as the ones who can help you. The word help, that emotion, that that person is someone who can help you in your issues, that means you are keeping him above you. So that mental instrument is what makes people and the members who are electing to say different institutes, are having their distance.
So what you're saying is that the citizens basically run behind the politicians, expecting something, a job for their child, you know, something to be, you know, a contract, whether it's local or on a larger basis, on a wider basis. So they are expecting to gain from these politicians.
Not exactly that what I meant, like that is something, that's because that you are getting unnecessary, unwanted benefits from these politicians or someone, not that, like the duty of the politicians are to get elected to the relevant institute, and I mean if it is the parliament, their duties, they are the legislature, right? So they have to, they have their job, but when it's up to the local government and all, like whatever there is a problem, so they expect them to do something, I mean irrelevant of the party. He said party X or party Y, it doesn't matter who is elected, that's his job to do this. Not only the party X person, that if I voted to party X, so I am not, people think that I can get it done only from the member who got elected from party X. It's not. Like the problem is the illiteracy of the people. The political literacy is the issue. I mean the citizens are very low in political literacy. So that is what has to happen in my point of view about this. That's why this distance between the members and the citizens.
So what you're saying is it doesn't matter whether it's the ruling party councillor of your municipal council or the opposition member, they are both working for us. They draw a salary and that's their job.
Yeah, both of them, like you think from the party X and party Y, the one who gets elected, or both of the people who are there, they have the same duty to do. Their job is equal.
Now this is a very interesting point, because no, let me bring in Kesarralal here. Kesarralal, we have this this notion that party X wins and they are in power, and I detest that phrase, in power, because we don't actually place them in power, we place them in office. But in Sinhala the word is balaya. So that means you're in power, you have the power to do anything, especially in this executive system. And then those who are not in power are those who either didn't get elected or got elected but their party is in the opposition. And then those representatives, as Nadeesha said, they behave as if they don't have a duty to perform. How do you break that culture?
This is a culture which has to be broken. In fact, I have tried my level best even during the period I was at the council. You know, as per the law, there is no government and opposition. Huh? There is no government and opposition. We have created that. Everybody is a member of the council, and you take decisions collectively, or everybody participates in those decisions. That's how the council has to run. But for a long number of years, we have created this situation of government and opposition, which is still being continued, which is wrong because the Act does not specify any of those things. Actually, local governance should not have opposition at all. Local governance is where everybody, if you take the budget is prepared by the council.
Yeah, true.
Budget is not prepared by the government. Budget is prepared by the council. All members are party to it. That's why I have always said, if you bring in a budget, you can't vote against it. You create a budget, you bring it into existence at the committee meeting, and then you vote against it. I said, you can't do that. When we were not on the ruling side, as to say, we were not in the ruling side, we never opposed the budget. We said, no, we support the budget, because we are party to the budget. But this has to be established. These are things, these are changes that the government should bring in. You cannot oppose a budget, number one. Number two, there is no opposition. Everybody is part of the government. And you have a mayor who sits and decides what is right and what is wrong. He has the important role. He cannot take sides.
Now, this is the ideal situation, Kesarralal. And in many countries, that is the situation. That's the way it works.
That's the way it works.
I mean, if you look at, let's say, a small town in the United States, they don't care that Donald Trump is the mayor. They care about the library in their school, the daycare center, and they hold their elected council members responsible. So it doesn't matter if you're a Republican or a Democrat, or you're from Donald Trump's party or not. That's not it. You are representing those people. But how do we get that kind of the spirit of that democracy, that participatory democracy, into Sri Lanka?
This is something extremely difficult. But you've got to understand the council, the mayor can do a big job in this. As long as he holds fort in a balanced manner, he runs his office in a balanced manner, everybody will start supporting him. You need, because if by chance you can get everybody on one level, then the council is run effectively. If not so, the council will never be run effectively. But that's a big problem.
Now, Nadeesha, just taking up that point, so far, over the decades, what we have seen is that a mayor or the chairman of a Pradesh Sabha or urban council, their fealty is to, their loyalty is to their party.
Yes.
So it doesn't matter what the voters say or what the other council members say. It is what the party hierarchy above, which is generally in Colombo, decides. So that's wrong, isn't it? But I have never heard of a mayor or a Pradesh Sabha chairman standing up and saying, "Listen here, Mr. Minister in Colombo, that's not we are going to do in this Pradesh Sabha because our people need this done."
So this is how it has been working
for a long period.
For a longer period. Not only in Sri Lanka. Now you see what has happened to panchayats in India.
In India.
Okay. So in the panchayat also, when it's, I mean, as he said, like the act doesn't say that according to the act, there's no government, there's no opposition in the local government. But throughout the history, that's what has happened. Now always we are having members from different parties, and then we understand that the government, always what is happening inside the local government is what the party hierarchy wants to happen. That's what happens, right? So if you want to do something to your area, so that will happen according to the wish of the parliament member of that electoral, most probably.
Yes, the MP, or there may be a minister, from that area.
Yeah. So that's how it happens. So, I mean, when it's the local government, we have to look at the mayor itself, but not that. People go beyond that, and also they know that the mayor is under the member of parliament,
right,
in that area.
So if you have a minister living in your area, so you need something done as a citizen, you go to that minister, the minister calls up the mayor.
Yeah. So that
which should not be the case.
But what has happened right now, we all know there's something like, we always have this in mind when the government, when you elect someone from the party which belong to the government, so you get better supply of funds to the local authority. So this is somewhat, always it was there in the people's minds, but now we are expecting a change in this from this government.
Absolutely.
Okay. So especially Kesarralal now mentioned the NPP government, you have to do this change. But this is the very first time I saw, I haven't seen this from any of these past presidents, saying that we will not give funds to local authority which is not from our party. Anura Kumara Disanayake is the very first person said that we will think 10 times if the power is in
I think, Nadeesha, that point was clarified subsequently, where he has basically said he's talking about the corruption and therefore...
We will not give funds to promote corruption.
Yes.
Yeah, see, it can be corruption or not, right? But he can't say that.
Right.
Okay. Intention, so you have to understand the intention behind his statement. He was just addressing the public. He wants to gain something out of that statement, right? Which he always showed that we are against corruption, against this thing and that thing. So he wanted to show that if this is being given, but it's not. You don't have a right to say that.
Right. So let's get to that point of funding and budgets. But first we have to take a short commercial break. I am in conversation with Kesarralal Gunasekara and Nadeesha De Silva. Don't go away. We'll be right back.
Sirasa Vesak Perahara Vesak Pura Pasarosaka Pohota Ratri Capital Maharaja Samuhe Moolastane Idiripitin Aramba Ve Park Vidya Osse Kolaba Nagarashalava Asalata Pemina Ethan Sita Salaka Watarama Haraha Nevatha Union Pedesata Lagave Sirasa Namami Sat Sid Namaskarya.
Design is like music. It's a whole orchestra. The dots, the lines, the dashes. It's a whole symphony. It has to feel good.
Come on a fantastic discovery of design as Anthony Burke meets designers from Mumbai to Yogyakarta, showcasing groundbreaking works.
This is me, this is my creation, this is my life.
Culture by Design.
Saturday at 6 p.m. onwards on TV1.
පාරමී බෙලෙන් ලෝතුරා බුදු බවලද ශාක්‍ය මුනින්ද්‍රයන් වහන්සේ සත් සිතින් පුදන සැදැහැති වන්දනාව. කප් සිටුවා බේකල පින්බිමක සිට කෙරෙන පිළිවෙත් පෙරටු කරගත් මහානීය වන්දනාව. සිරසා නමාමි සිරස වෙසක් කලාපය. මැයි 12 සහ 13 දෙදින කොළඹ 2 බ්‍රේබ්රුක් පෙදෙස සිරස මාධ්‍යජාල මූලස්ථාන පරිශ්‍රයේදී. සිරසා නමාමි සත් සිත් නමස්කාරය.
If you do not perform, or if you have not performed, and if you do not perform, this is a protest vote we are going to place, and that signal, that protest vote will go down very well because the government will know that their popularity is coming down and they will have to arrest him.
This government needs checks and balances.
You can't say only winning parties announce their candidates. There have been it has been time and time again where, candidates are chosen.
Our police is still being restructured and reformed at the moment, and that is part of the reason. But I also think organized crime is a bit unsettled at the moment.
Face the Nation every Wednesday at 9:30 p.m.
Welcome back to Face to Face. I'm in conversation with Mr. Kesarralal Gunasekara and Mr. Nadeesha De Silva. Kesarralal, now let's get back to that funding issue. Explain to us how the local authorities are actually funded, whether it's 100% from the central government, whether it comes through provincial councils, and whether they can raise their own funding locally.
Of course, the local authorities do have rates and taxes that are paid by the residents in the for whatever we say. If you're having you have to pay your rates, no.
That's right.
Every year
Every January you have to
pay your rates. So those things are collected directly by the local authorities.
And that then, does not go to the treasury.
No, that does not go to the treasury
with
at all.
The local authority.
It stays with the local authority. Then with regard to the salaries of employees, all those things funds are diverted through the Finance Commission by the centre. It comes through the Finance Commission of the provincial councils. So that the money technically comes through the provincial council but given by the treasury. And that comes as an allocation. It's called revenue grants. That is for the salaries of all employees.
Right. So
that is how it works. That has been the manner in which funds have been allocated to local authorities. I have always held that the government needs to understand a particular percentage of the government revenue has to flow to the local authorities.
Absolutely.
A particular percentage has to flow to the local authorities. How does the local authorities work? But that doesn't happen. And how they overcome this situation?
What do you mean it doesn't happen?
No, because they have to work it out and give us a percentage, whether it's 10 or 12 or whatever percentage, so that every council gives it. But how they overcome it? They say, no, we are going to give you salaries. And then shut us out completely from there. There are so many other revenue sources which have been blocked by the provincial councils and the centre, which is totally wrong. Totally wrong.
What are you referring to there when you say so many other revenue?
Well, I say, now with regard to taxes of revenue licenses issued by the centre, part of it has to come to the local authority.
That's the vehicles.
Yeah, because they're applying on our roads. So part of it has to go to the revenue authority, local authorities now. It doesn't come. Then most of the land sales, land transactions, if the land transaction, the lawyer is from a different district, he registers it there. We don't get that money. The stamp fees? No. What we collect is from Delkada, that's all. So majority of our income is taken away by either the centre or the provincial council. This is a matter which the NPP government has to get on to business and then sort this out. Monies to the local authorities must be given to them. Must be given to them.
Interesting.
And mind you, 2024, the previous regime, with regard to the budget, they introduced a program of activity which said by year 2028, most of the councils must be self-operating, self-sustained council. In other words, to say, look here, we can't give you funds, you have to utilize your. How the hell can the local authorities function in that manner? And already, last budget, 25% of our revenue grants have been removed. So we got only 75%. But not the other councils, but the municipal councils. 25% was removed. As to where it's going to end, I don't know. Everybody needs to understand that unless we sit and thrash out these issues, because the local authority is a very powerful institution now. Very powerful institution.
No, Nadeesha, in light of what Kesarralal just said, where the previous government has actually cut down funding for the local authorities, is there any prospect that the local authorities would actually stand up and fight this and say, no, government in the centre, you have to give us the money? Or are we going to see the whole party affiliation happening and okay, whatever the president and the cabinet decides is what's going to happen?
That's what usually
happens.
And I don't find anything different this time as well. This time also we are seeing the very same thing. Now it will be out of the context of the question which you asked me. People now they are seeing that there will not be any difference. You started our conversation with the distance between the members who get elected and the citizens. So now this election itself is a very good example where you see what people expected from the elected members of the parliament. We are seeing it in the election which recently finished, but it is the result, the message it gave is for the people who got elected in the previous election, how they were distanced from the citizens. The system change which was expected, is it happening? So these are the questions that is raising. People are seeing so citizens now, they have started seeing the things we've been promised. I mean, they were like what NPP promised before they come to power. We recently saw how this Savitri Paul Raj reacted to that the tragedy of that child. So most of the members of the parliament and ministers, cabinet ministers, how arrogant they are, their attitudes. So now people have started seeing how these members of the parliament, how these politicians change when power is in their hand.
But Nadeesha, this arrogance of politicians, to a great extent, doesn't it come about because we as citizens don't nip it in? I mean, when we now what you said earlier, that we place our politicians in that exalted position.
This is the thing.
Of course, now you would notice that whenever politicians come on our shows, it doesn't matter to us who they are. Here at Newsfirst, doesn't matter, right? Both of you have been on so many of our shows, and you can be a minister or you can be an ordinary person. You're treated the same, right? But that's what society doesn't do. Society sort of places them up there, and then they become arrogant.
Society is always expecting a hero to come and solve their issues. That's what society always wants, right? So
too many movies.
Now it's a vicious
Bollywood
cycle.
And Hollywood.
It's a vicious cycle, right? You find someone, I mean, you are the one who's elect someone and put him in the top seat, and you're saying how arrogant he is or how arrogant they are. You're suffering from that, right? So then you start understanding that we have to chase this dude away, or chase this party, chase this government away, and bring something new.
Them. Now you can't sort of chase every government.
Yes.
And we are stuck with this regime, whether you like it or not, for the next 4 to 5 years. So that's that. So instead of fuming and getting our blood pressure up for the next 5 years, we should have a system to act to bring politicians back down to earth.
Bringing politicians back down to earth means you have to literate. I mean, you have to literate the general public. You have to. They should know what their rights are. They should know, and they should start understand that these people are just representing you. So if that is not happening, always, now what happened, we don't need to go back like so far, just imagine about this final government change, right? So we saw that people brought this NPP government. What was their intention? It was just not that they elected these people, right? Not that they choose these people, just they wanted to chase them away, the previous government. That's what happened in the previous time also. This is the same thing which happened all the times.
We are very good at chasing politicians out of office.
Yeah, we won't. I mean,
but we are interacting with them.
Yeah, we are electing them as heroes, and then when they come to power, we start understanding that they are doing something else, and we get that urge to chase them away. Then to chase them away, you are not starting interacting with them, or you are not getting empowered to have that negotiation or the dialogue with the government or the the authorities. What you are doing is you are choosing some other person, another hero, to chase these people away.
And the heroes turn into
the
villains.
new hero becomes the villain in very few months. This is what has happened now.
So this is very Bollywood, isn't it?
That's it.
But Kesarralal, now in the old days, to get to your councillor, your MP, was sometimes difficult because you didn't have, let's say, the pre-internet age where no mobile phones. You had to physically go and knock on that person's door or write him a letter. But now today, you can send him a WhatsApp message.
Yeah.
Or just call him up. But if he doesn't take your calls, you send him an SMS, a WhatsApp message, an email. So isn't it that much simpler?
It is simpler. It is for this reason I always said that you don't need so many members in a particular council. In fact, I did an article when the original council, the Yellamata Municipal Council, had 29. I did an article emphasizing that if you can bring it down to 19, 29 to 19, it would run as a better council. But 29 became 50.
That's the tragedy of it.
That's a tragedy. That's a tragedy. Anyway, I still feel that there are so many things. But in fairness, for what Nadeesha said, I still feel that this particular government will do positive things. Because their survival alone is based on that.
Now let's look at one of the positive things that this regime has promised. Digitalization, which we presume it's happening.
It's happening, yeah. It's on the cards, yeah, drawing boards.
We've seen some aspects of it happening, but of course it's taking a long time.
It takes time.
With government, that would happen. But isn't digitalization absolutely necessary in order to stamp down on corruption?
Correct.
And I'm not just talking about the central government and the corporations and so on. I'm talking about your local council, which, local councils, they do so much of handing out of contracts for tradesmen, for various services
and projects,
garbage collection, perhaps repairs to roads, concreting of roads, building culverts and drains and so on. So that's a lot of money.
Yeah.
But in the past, unfortunately, it was, the nephew of the Pradeshya Sabha chairman.
Yeah.
He has a hardware shop, so he gets a contract to build a culvert or something like that. But in the past, we didn't see any transparency in the accounts.
Correct.
How was a citizen to get to know who tendered, who bid for which tender, and who was the best? We simply couldn't get that information unless you went through the RTI process and so on, and that would take months. But with the promised digitalization, shouldn't all that be up there on the internet, on the website of the CMC,
not only that,
of the Negombo Municipal Council, of the Kerala Municipal Council?
Not only that, Niresh, I feel that this present government will go beyond that. Why I say that is, that's why I always look at it from a positive point of view. I feel what has happened in the past, very briefly I tell you, all local authorities were provided with this facility of granting contracts to various CBOs, community-based organizations. This is one area of corruption. One area of corruption of all local authorities. And at that time, the cap was 2 million. Any project can be given out to a community-based organization, and the cap is 2 million. So many things happen where so many community-based organizations were picked up purely to give this contract, and the local authority member collects his share. That's all. This is corruption. Pure corruption. In 2022 or 23, when the local authorities was due, it was 22 I think, or 23. Of course, there was a 1 year change as well, addition given. The then Prime Minister, through a circular, raised this 2 million to 5 million. Any project up to 5 million you can give it to a community-based organization.
Which immediately increases the level of corruption.
And mind you, this particular finance minister, didn't he know this leads to further corruption? No. He knew very well it leads to further corruption. But they were not worried about those things. They were worried about getting funds for their local authority members, so that everybody starts collecting monies.
No,
that is why I say this government will change all that. And it is in their best interest.
You are looking skeptical here.
No. What I say, don't look at him, look at me, because you know why? I'm saying it, not Nadeesha. I'm saying
it. Well, both of you gentlemen will be back on our shows quite frequently, so I will remind you both of your points of view.
No, because I feel, Niresh, this government has to understand their survival is on these changes, and they will definitely do that. You know why? Because they want the correct thing done. Huh? They realize what has happened in the past.
This is where when governments, when politicians in office distance themselves, or the citizens get distanced, many politicians, they don't even realize that they've run off the track. And then they are left wondering why their 50% mandate suddenly became 10%. At the next election.
That's exactly what happened.
That's what often
like
happens.
61 has come to 43 now.
Yeah, I'll tell you something. There was this, now the present election results, was portrayed as a big defeat for the NPP, which is all wrong. NPP got 5.4 million when the voter turnout was 78.6. This time the voter turnout was 61.88. They should have got only 4.3. They got 4.4.
Well,
so they are,
the proof of the pudding is in the eating.
They are still procured their vote. Huh?
Right.
And mind you,
Kesarralal,
I'll tell you something.
We're almost out of time here.
Yeah, I'll tell you something.
And I want to give the last word to Nadeesha.
Just one this thing. The SLPP was a dominant local authority winner at the last 2018 elections. They got 3,380 odd members. Huh? You know how many members NPP got? 3,976.
Well, it's not the number of members, but their performance which matters.
Yes. The number of
Nadeesha,
members.
your final thoughts.
Kesarralal
lives in eternal hope.
Kesarralal is someone like, you know, he's like a postmodern father to NPP, like a very soft critic, but he loves it. Huh?
He's hoping his children and grandchildren will behave themselves.
Anyway, so I agree with what he said, that now, see, all the opposition, we take UNP, SJB, SLPP and whatever the opposition parties, they think that they have gained a lot in this thing, and they are very happy about the loss of percentage which NPP experienced this time, right? So they are feeling this. It's just a passive victory for them. They don't understand that they have lost in a bigger way, right? Now, this election itself is not won by anyone. It's not won by anyone. What I am counting on is not the number of votes, not the percentage that they gained, the percentage that they didn't get. Starting with NPP, they are the people who got the most, I mean, they got the highest percentage out of all, right? But they were being rejected by 56% odd, right? They were rejected by 56%. And just think about SJB, they have been rejected by 78%. UNP was rejected by 95%. SLPP also somewhat around 95, something like that, right?
Sorry, 90%.
Yeah.
90%.
90%. They got 10%, right?
90.
So this past election, the local government election, is no one won this. People gave a message. True that NPP won this.
But the message is very clear.
You can't deny that the victories on NPP's side. You have to agree with that. People might say different things. Different parties might say, they will not be able to form governments. They will not be. That's a different story. But they won, right? They won. But they should understand the message given by the people.
The real story is in the percentage which didn't vote for you.
Yes. So that plays a role in legitimacy.
Right.
Right?
Well,
legitimacy of the government, it is being questioned by the citizens from this government. That is the message.
That's
that
an
message should have
interesting
been
and powerful
understood.
point of view.
That should have been understood by the Anurakkumara Disanayaka himself, because except from Anurakkumara Disanayaka, there is nothing in this government.
And on that note, I'm afraid we are out of time. It's been a very interesting discussion indeed. My thanks to Nadeesha De Silva and of course Mr. Kesarralal Gunasekara, former MP, for joining me this evening. And thank you to you for watching. And don't go away because the news is coming up next. Have a great evening.